can live it and you can call it what you want, but the point is to get it as a guide for your life, you know.
I think escaping Rand's zeitgeist and putting it in our own, in which we're much more familiar with hierarchical relationships and values than Rand was. And the way it plays out in society, we're much more familiar with that. And so, you know, she portrayed in her novels peak experiences, but didn't see them for what they were. She saw them as just, it is an insufficient marker for today's society. That's why I offer that if you can bring it all to those words from 50 years ago, to the radiance part of it. I love that word radiance in this context, but that's what sets something apart, and I believe your choice of words would just nail your message better in this decade than 50 years ago. And I think it is very much the same fundamental thought.
Yeah, I think so.
But it's maybe better usage today, and you know, it's a powerful message. Sorry I went so far.
So, I wanted to say a little bit. I had this kind of outline in this thing. I want to read some of this because I think it's kind of, I don't know, it helps distinguish it. Well, I said what love is and fear is. The distinction pertains to a man's primary motive in a given field or undertaking. The man who struggles to create something new, who in the process may have to fight many obstacles placed in his path, versus the man who doesn't want to get blamed by the boss or get fired. Now we're talking about, you know, seeking positive value versus avoiding the negative. Okay. Or another example is the man who seeks a passionate romance with a kindred spirit versus a man who sleeps with anyone because all he wants is to not be left alone. The man who attends to health in order to live and be active versus the hypochondriac who is obsessed with not being sick. Oh, that's kind of funny. The political candidate who has something, I've known, the political candidate who has something to say in a TV debate and wants to make a case to the country and win the argument versus a candidate who wants only to not make any mistakes on screen and not to lose. Yeah, really. In one sense, both of these types of men can be described as purposeful. They are both acting and pursuing something as against being inanimate. But they are not both exponents of purpose in the moral sense. Morality is defined by reference to the requirements of survival, and the goal of life cannot be attained by seeking the zero, he calls it, which is really not that. You see what I'm saying? It's either life or not that. So if he says seeking the zero, it means whatever's not life. That's what that means. Which that is the avoidance of seeking life-supporting values or the undermining and or destruction of life-supporting values. So achieving life is not the equivalent of avoiding death. Happiness is not a feeling of relief. I noticed that, like, after I got out of Landmark, I can tell you many times I was so freed up, you know. But what it really was relief, because I'd been gripped by something, you know, some way of looking at something that had imprisoned me. And when I got rid of that, you know, it was painful to go through it, but when you're on the other side, you just feel so freed up. But that's still, you know, relief. It's relief from the chains. It's not positive life. You have to create that still. That's out there in the future, but it's not. You see what I'm saying? What time is it?
You got about 10 minutes.
Oh, now this is very interesting. I want to talk about this too. when you have when you choose life and you have a moral code is just some guideline. Just say it that way. I don't want to put a lot on it. I just want to, get that that's what we need. We support it. So when you choose life, then what happens is you're on the right track in life. And so let's say a lot of circumstances can happen which are not forwarding your life at that moment. But when you know that you're on the right track, then that pain can only go so far down in your soul. Because you've got the ground all solidified. It's all base here, right? And that's what, that came up, I think, in Rourke. Rourke talked about, or somebody talked about that pain could only go so far down. But if you haven't chosen it, then joy can only go so far down. What's underneath this is all the, quote, fear, pain, and so forth that is there because you haven't, it's there by virtue of not choosing. So that's kind of the way that sets up. Interesting, I think. In one case, it's like the moral man is able to have metaphysical pleasure, or metaphysical joy, or whatever, and the immoral man has metaphysical. So in other words, this is the part where you get to say who you are as a man. That's basically what's happening. And once you establish that, then whatever you do on top, it's good days and bad days, right? But it doesn't wreck you. Okay? So, here, this is what Galt said. A state of non-contradictory joy. A joy without penalty or guilt. It does not clash with any of your values and does not work for your own destruction. Not the joy of escaping from your mind, but of using your mind's fullest power. Not the joy of faking reality, but of achieving values that are real. Not the joy of a drunkard, but of a producer. That's happiness.